Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Thursday, August 7th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far today. This is episode 594 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining me. For those tuning in on YouTube, make sure to please like and subscribe. Of course, appreciate all of those tuning in on all the different audio podcast platforms. And today we are recapping day number 12 of New York Jets training camp. I was out at One Jets Drive in Florham Park this morning. So in today's episode, I will be giving you all of my in-person takeaways from today's practice, the final practice before the New York Jets play a football game. Yes, just a little over 48 hours from this recording. The Jets will be under the lights at Lambeau against the Green Bay Packers to open up the preseason. And as Aaron Glenn mentioned in his post-practice press conference today, the starters will play. So we'll discuss more of that later on in today's podcast. As always, though, we'll start with the biggest takeaways I had on the field today, and then we'll also take a look and listen to some sound as well later on. Aaron Glenn met the media, Sauce Gardner met the media, and Jay Tufele also met the media, so we'll listen to that later on in today's episode to close things out. But as I mentioned, I was in attendance again today out at One Jets Drive, so all of this is my in-person takeaways, and today was a strong day for the offense, a really nice bounce-back day for Justin Fields and this offense. Obviously, last Friday, this was a offense that had one of their best practices of the summer, and they quickly followed that up with 3 really rough days in a row. Saturday, they struggled, lots of penalties, of course, in the green and white scrimmage. Then Monday, they struggled, and again on Tuesday, they struggled. And Justin Fields actually mentioned in his post-practice press conference on Tuesday when he met with the media how today was going to be a good opportunity for the offense to bounce back, a good opportunity for the offense to find a bit of rhythm, get more in sync here before this team takes the field for the first time in the preseason on Saturday. And that's exactly what they did. And I think today was another reminder of why you can't totally panic over a couple training camp practices. Today's practice also doesn't mean the New York Jets and Justin Fields are going to be elite offensively. No, but that's the ebbs and flows of training camp. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. The last couple of practices have been rough for the offense, but today, especially from a passing perspective, a lot better. And from a run game perspective, you continue to see a lot of positives, which that has been the case this entire training camp, even through some of the down days through the air. The ground game, which is going to be this team's identity, I think people forget that. This is not going to be a top passing offense in the NFL, even if Justin Fields takes another step. This is going to be a run-heavy, run-first team. But today you saw some positives from a pass game perspective, and we've got a lot of takeaways because, as Aaron Glenn mentioned earlier in the week, the workload is increasing. The Jets did a lot of team drills today and did a lot of drive-to-field drills where they're actually moving the ball, and I think that's a good thing. You know, it's not just 7-on-7s or just 11-on-11s where they're starting from the 25 or 30-yard line and just running plays but not actually moving the ball, not actually getting upfield, not actually getting, reps in a 2nd down and 10 situation, 2nd and long, whatever, 3rd down situations. They're simulating more like a scrimmage game environment, which we saw that. And they started off today with drive the field drills, and it was a very strong start for this offense. Justin Fields in the first team offense went right down the field to open up practice and scored. And this is how the drive went. Things started off with a completion to Breece Hall. It was a quick pass in the flat for about 7 yards. Then Breece Hall fouled that up with a 6 to 7 or so yard run. So first down, move the chains. Definitely Fields' worst pass of the day, and really the only negative on this drive was a play that followed that Breece Hall run, incomplete to Andrew Beck. Just a throw that it felt like Fields didn't want to throw it, held on to it a bit too long, and at the last second just let it go, threw it into the dirt at Andrew Beck's feet, into the ground, incomplete. But then he followed it up with a scramble for a really nice chunk of yards, about 15 to 17 yards on the scramble. So, of course, the legs of Justin Fields, which we all know what he can do from that perspective, was showing off there. Braylon Allen then had a very short 1-yard run. Good stop by the defense, but then on 2nd and 9, Fields found Garrett Wilson for about 15 yards across the middle. And in the very next play, 1st and 10, new set of down from the 17-yard line, Justin Fields puts a ball right to Garrett Wilson where only Garrett Wilson can get it, and it's a touchdown for the Jets. Nice throw, nice catch, and back-to-back plays, you saw that connection between the two, rekindling what, of course, they were able to do at Ohio State, and the Jets went down and scored. So that first drive, very good for Justin Fields, very good for the offense. Couple nice run plays. You had the one incompletion to Andrew Beck, but other than that, getting Breece involved, and of course the back-to-back plays to Garrett Wilson, the one being the touchdown pass. And I know the clip's already hit social media, so I'm sure many of you have gotten it or have seen it, but that's one of those plays where Fields put that ball to where only Garrett can go up and grab it, and that's just a good play, good to see, right? Couple tough days, good to see Fields through the air have some success from that perspective. Mevis then came on for the point after try, and he connected there. So that was the first drive. Very, very positive for the first team offense. In terms of just some notes that I took from a second team perspective, Brady Cook was running a lot with the second team to open up practice. Martinez then also got some reps, but a lot of it was Brady Cook. Rashad Weaver had a sack to open up the second team's portion of the drive to field drills. Rashad Weaver is a guy that has quietly put together a nice summer, and we've said this a ton on these episodes, with Jermaine Johnson, of course, starting off right now on the PUP list, but going to open up the year a little bit slow, easing him back into it from the torn Achilles. You're going to need some of these depth guys from this in this edge room to step up, whether that's a Michael Clemens, throw Rashad Weaver into that list as well as somebody emerging as that third edge to open up the year. Rashad Weaver quietly has done well and has had a couple nice practices and has been able to do some good things both from a pass rush perspective and a run stop perspective as well. He's been a good piece so far, 12 practices in. You obviously want to see it continue in these preseason games and also against the joint practices to see what some of these other guys, these depth guys in that defensive line room look like. In terms of the rest of that drive, not a ton. That was mainly what I took, a defensive takeaway there to throw in here. In terms of Cook's second set of drive to field drills, since the first one didn't go very well, Braylon Allen had a couple nice runs. 2nd down and 9, had a nice 6-yard run to get it to 3rd and short. And then one of Braylon's really nice runs came a little bit later in that drive. 10-yard run for a 1st down. Nice cut to the outside. And you just watch Braylon Allen practice after practice. And all the days that I've been there, he is on a mission this season. And Isaiah Davis as well can't go without being talked about either. Both of these guys, every single practice, you're seeing positive things from them. Their ability to hit the hole hard, their ability to cut up field. A couple of these run concepts, we've seen a lot more outside runs, which we've seen these players take advantage of, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis specifically. So you saw a lot of that again today. The run game, even when the offense has struggled, as I mentioned in the open of today's podcast, the run game day in and day out through the first, 3 weeks now of training camp already, it's just so impressive. And also credit to the guys up front on that offensive line. Pass protection today was some of the best it's been, especially the two tackles were excellent in Armand Membu and Olu Fashanu from a first-team perspective. But all in all, that run game, pass pro today, again, a lot of things were clicking, but the run game specifically has been a big positive this entire camp. Another note that I took during the Brady Cook portion, the second-team reps, Malachi Moore was sent on a blitz. It was actually a nice blitz pickup. And the Pritchett then, it was then a completion of Pritchett, but Malachi Moore was sent on a blitz. A little bit later, there was a completion of Pritchett. Pritchett had a nice practice today. He had a first down. Malachi Moore was in coverage on that play. But Malachi Moore was noticeable today, did a couple blitzing a bit, a couple plays in coverage. But Jamal Pritchett had a reception there as well. Pritchett had a really solid day, all in all. He then had a completion. He also then had a reception from Adrian Martinez on a slant for about 10 to 12 yards. They actually asked Glenn in his press conference about Pritchett, and he's been happy with what he's seen from him. Smaller player, but the speed and the under-the-radar yak ability has been on display. I continue to push the Jamal Pritchett narrative. I really think he's got a good shot at making the roster, and the preseason's huge for him, especially from a punt returning, kick returning, special teams perspective. But also to continue to go out there and flash a bit as a receiver, which he did again today, and he's done so far in camp. So that was the main takeaways from the drive to field. Of course, the biggest one being the Justin Fields portion and that first-team offense's opening drive. The Jets also did some red zone drills as well. Fields opened it up with an incompletion, almost a nice grab by Garrett Wilson. However, at the last second, Marcelino McCrary ball popped it out for the PBU. I've mentioned him almost every episode. He continues to fly around. You watch him in person as well. He's got some speed. He brings a ton of energy. He's made some plays. I really think he's making this roster, and there's a real chance here he potentially plays a role for this team as their third linebacker. He has had a very, very strong summer making a play there on Garrett. Fields then at completion. The next play to Garrett, quick route in the flat for about 5 yards. And this was one of the down areas of the offense. The worst play of the offense today was Fields then holding offense. Didn't matter, though. Fields drops back, throws a good ball to Jeremy Ruckert, but it goes right through his hands. Goes into his hands, pops up, and into the waiting arms of Brandon Stevens for an interception. And that has been the case a couple times with Jeremy Ruckert this season. That has been a case with, not this season, rather, this summer. And that's been the case with a couple of these interceptions this summer as well. Not just Jeremy Ruckert, but a couple of these receivers, a couple of these interceptions. It's been balls that have been popped off the hands into the air and into the arms of a waiting defender. And you saw that there. And seeing it in person was just so frustrating because that's a play that not just the receivers got to make, but your tight end, safety blanket, somebody that's got to be that reliable option, especially in the red zone. You've got to make that play if you're Jeremy Ruckert. And it's so frustrating to see these mistakes from Jeremy Ruckert because it's year number 4. It's year number 4. And we're not seeing consistent anything out of him. The receiving ability the first 3 years has been a nothing. And so far in camp, it feels like as camp has gone on, he's gotten worse in a way. It kind of just going back in my memory bank, it feels like the start of camp made a couple plays, but since then, it's been a lot of bad. There's been some drops. You have the ball go through his hands today. That's something that is inexcusable, cannot happen in a game. And I continue to say this with Jeremy Ruckert. I really think there's a real chance. Number one, there might be a real chance the Jets claim a tight end, and he's this team's tight end too, once roster cuts happen. Stone Smart's had a couple good days in a row. He wasn't much of a factor today. A little bit of a back down to earth performance for him. I don't think I logged him at all today getting a reception or even a target. Just looking at my notes here. But Jeremy Ruckert specifically, this guy's year 4 and we're having these same issues. The receiving ability's not there. Plays like that can't happen. Inexcusable, interception in a real game situation. That's a killer. And I think there's a real chance he's this team's tight end 3. I really do. If he doesn't show much in these preseason games and doesn't show much from a in the joint practices and he continues to make these mistakes, number one, it's not good because nobody's really emerging really behind Mason Taylor. And this is also an opportunity, too, for Jeremy Rucker, right? Mason Taylor's out with the high ankle sprain. This is an opportunity here for him to run with the ones, get an opportunity, make some plays, make you feel a little bit more confident in him, make you feel a little bit more confident in this tight end room behind Mason Taylor entering the season, and that's not the case. So that was so frustrating. And it's just frustrating because it's year 4 and you're seeing the same things with Rucker. And this summer, you were hoping to see him take a bit of a jump. It feels like every summer we've been hoping to see him take a bit of a jump every season, and it hasn't been the case. And especially now with Mason Taylor down, you want to see these guys with more reps make some plays, and they didn't. Like I said, Stone Smart, who I think there's a real good chance he might be this team's tight end too. Honestly, he's been better than Rucker this camp. But these guys are getting more reps and are not taking advantage today. So that was something that was very unfortunate and just can't happen. The next set of red zone drills for Fields, couple runs from Braylon. He started with a 3-yard run, then a really nice 6-yard run with a nice cut. Just again, some of these run plays too, it's not necessarily these big chunk 25, 30-yard run plays, but it's just consistent 5, 6 to even 7 yards run plays where in a game, that's how you wear a defense down. We've seen a lot of that so far in training camp, which has been a nice positive and a big deal for this Jets team, who is going to, of course, be a run-first, run-heavy offense. So those are the main takeaways from the red zone drills offensively. From a first-team perspective, of course, the biggest one being the Jeremy Rucker through the hands into the awaiting arms of Brandon Stevens interception. Good for Stevens, another interception. He continues to put together a strong camp. But Jeremy Rucker, can't happen. Unacceptable. I don't care if it's training camp. That's unacceptable. Another highlight I did write down here from Adrian Martinez, a nice play action completion to Pritchett, rolling out to his left for a first down. So another Pritchett sighting, but also we've seen a lot of that play action. Quarterbacks rolling out a lot. Tyrod's done it a lot. Fields has done it a lot more rolling out, a lot more, play action, things like that. Something that we haven't really seen much of, something that you expect them to incorporate more of, and they've done that. Peyton Page also had a pass breakup at the line of scrimmage. He's quietly had a nice camp. Don't expect them to make the roster, but one of those under-the-radar defensive linemen that's put together a nice summer. And there was actually a Brady McGregor sighting as well. He had to run stuff, so figured I'd throw that in there. Corley, not a very good day. Targeted him only once or twice. The one was an incompletion. Nice pass breakup by Jordan Clark. Corley continues to have just not a bumpy summer, just a summer that hasn't really seen him do anything productive. So those were the red zone drills. Now, moving on to the Jets also did some backed up. They set the ball on the 1-yard line and did some backed up 1-yard line drills. So in the event that they were backed up at their own 1, how to get out of that, which I thought was interesting. Pretty cool set of drills here. So it actually started with a safety. Brady Cook and the second team started. And it started with a Braylon run that was actually stuffed by Tony Adams. Tony Adams came running in. It looked like some others were involved as well. Couldn't tell exactly who. Obviously, some guys up front on the defensive line, but Tony Adams was one of the big ones. For his size, for a safety to go in and be able to take Braylon Allen at the goal line like that, really nice flash from the safety and a nice job by the defense. And then after that, Cook and the team reset, did another set, had a nice completion to Arian Smith across the middle for about 10 yards. And then Kene Nwangu fumbled. It was punched out by Jamian Sherwood, and then he also recovered the fumble. So heck of a play from Jamian Sherwood to not only punch it out, but also to recover. And a tough play there for Kene Nwangu, who's still fighting for a roster spot. You would predict that he could potentially be this team's kick returner, but guys like that are fighting for roster spots, fumbling like that, especially in that scenario of being backed up inside your own 10 in that situation, can't happen. But a heck of a play from Jamian Sherwood. And that's just one of those plays that you continue to get excited for, what this linebacker room can do Leonard Taylor also had a pass breakup at the line of scrimmage. That was when Fields and them took over. Their drive went with a Breece Hall run for 2 yards, 2nd and 8, Leonard Taylor PBU. So 3rd and 8 from the 3-yard line. Fields found Garrett Wilson for a completion, 15 yards, first down. They ended up resetting back to the 1 since they got to the first down. Braylon run for about 4 yards. In a game scenario, it might have been more, but they called it dead. And then on 2nd and 6, Braylon Allen had his biggest run of the day. Huge chunk play down the near sideline where we were sitting from a fan's perspective, just cut out to the right side. And it probably was a 15 to 20 just chunk yard play. And that's big, right? I talk about the 6 to 7 to 8 yard gains, even the 5-yard gains, even the 4-yard gains on a 2nd and 3 scenario just to get the first down. We've seen a lot of that, but there has been some chunk plays, and it's really cool to see Braylon Allen with those chunk plays because he's got that underrated ability when he gets to the outside to get to another level, and the speed is there with him. Plus the size and that thumper ability, it just gets you really excited to what he can do in this offense. Martinez almost had a heck of a play to Skinner down the sideline. That would have been like the 3rd team play of the day. Didn't get it to him, though. It was incomplete, just overthrew him. But he did get a play prior to that to Skinner on a nice completion for a first down. And then there was also another play action completion to Pritchett. Pritchett had a nice move put on Zaire Barnes, made him miss. Pritchett, again, he's got that kind of soft feet when he gets into the open field. He's shifty. He's definitely got some twitch to him. All right, so now we get to the 2-minute drill. Then we'll listen to some sounds. So the 2-minute drill logged every single play. It was, of course, only the first team offense in Justin Fields. So things started out with a penalty actually on the defense. So it was 1st and 5. Started with a Tyler Johnson completion to Tyler Johnson for about 15 yards. 1st and 10. Second play, read option Fields. Only about 2 yards, was running towards the sideline trying to get out of bounds. So that was 2nd and 8 then in that situation. He then found Garrett Wilson across the middle for 16 yards. Jets called a timeout. The situation was, game was 10 to 10 with 1:20 left. Offense had 2 timeouts. So they burn one of those there. So the update is 1st and 10. Jets were at the 32-yard line with 47 seconds left. Fields tried to get it to Isaiah Davis, incomplete, bit of an overthrow. Either way, it was good coverage. I don't know if Isaiah Davis, even if the ball was there, would have probably been stopped in bounds and wouldn't have been a big gain. So one of those plays that actually you're probably better off just having it go out of bounds because the clock stops and you take the clock stopping over probably the extra 3 yards in that scenario than getting those 3 yards, 4 yards, and then putting yourself in a situation where you've got to rush back up and burn some time. So either way, it was 2nd and 10, back from the 32, this time 43 seconds left. Jets send the blitz. That's been common a lot. Very good blitz pickup. I talked about it earlier. Offensive line was on point today from a pass protection standpoint. This time, very good blitz pickup. Fields finds Garrett for about 8 yards. 3rd and 2 then. They run with Davis, get back up to the line, no huddle. Davis for a first down up the middle. Run play, timeout. So it's now 1st and 10 from the 18-yard line with 16 seconds left. And this is where, unfortunately, the drive stalled a bit. There was nobody open. Fields threw it away. 2nd and 10 then from the 18-yard line with 9 seconds left. Jets got to be quick. No timeouts. Can't, of course, throw anything in bounds. Bit of pressure, throw away from Fields. So with 16 seconds left from the 18-yard line, Jets had 2 cracks at it, and there was 2 throwaways. Couldn't get anything after that. So 3rd and 10 from the 18-yard line, 6 seconds left. Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker, comes out for the field goal try, and he doinks it in. Yes, it went off the left upright and in. So Jets got lucky there. Mevis got lucky there. And that was it. That was practice. Those are my biggest takeaways from on the field. Kind of logged again, just about play-by-play here. In terms of some special teams notes, because I did just mention Harrison Mevis, and before we get to the sound from today's practice, Kick returners today, Corley was back, Arian Smith was back, Isaiah Davis was back, Kanane Nwangu was also back. And then punt returner drills, Pritchett and Cisco were back returning punts. I don't buy much into Cisco. I don't think he's going to be returning punts, but it has been interesting. He's been back there from time to time this camp. And in the kickers during field goal drills, Folk went 4 of 5, Mevis went 4 of 5 as well. And Mevis primarily was the one kicking the PATs and field goals. Folk came in to do a couple phantom kicks where they went through, but he didn't actually kick it. And I think that kind of tells you he's the front runner. Mevis is really the camp leg right now. But again, we'll see. Preseason games are big for those guys. I think they're really just holding Mevis, especially when you look at Nick Folk's contract, the details that it came out yesterday. The contract breakdown is one of somebody that's going to probably be on this team, is going to be the starting kicker. And Mevis feels at this point just a camp leg, bearing something unforeseen. So that's what I took away from the on the field portion of today's Jets training camp, or as Aaron Glenn says, the grass. We now get to Aaron Glenn. This was Glenn. Players, starters rather, are going to be playing on Saturday against Green Bay. Here is Glenn on the starters playing in the preseason.
We're playing. We're playing. I can't tell you how much the guys are going to play. It's going to factor about how the game goes, but we're playing. Because I want to play. That's the reason.
I'm happy about this. I'm totally okay with this. I'm good with this. I think it's necessary, right? Especially when you've seen some of the struggles, not today, but prior to today with the offense. It's tough in these practices to simulate. You can't fully simulate an in-game situation. And the Jets, this is totally opposite from the Robert Saleh-led Jets and the Jets in previous years, where they only had that one tune-up with Rodgers against the Giants. But last year, of course, didn't play any of the starters. And I do think there is something to a much more physical training camp and playing players in the preseason to having a quicker start to the year. How many times have the Jets been pushed around early in the season, especially week 1, right? You don't want to see that this year. You want to see this team be ready to roll from the start. You want to see this team be ready to roll early in the season, match other teams' intensity earlier in the year. You've seen that so far with the training camp practices, and now you get that opportunity in this preseason games where the starters will play. Justin Fields is learning a new system. He's got a lot of work still to be done before the season begins, rather. And you want to see him in an in-game environment. You want to see him continue to mess with these receivers, learn this offense, go out there and improve from a passing perspective in an in-game situation, get those in-game reps. So I'm totally good with it. It gives you some more excitement going into this game because it is still a preseason game. So at the end of the day, doesn't mean anything at the end of the day from a win-loss perspective, but from reps and getting better and showing improvement, that's all good. You get that now against the Packers. You get the 2 joint practices next week against the Giants. I expect them to play next week against the Giants, and then potentially you hold them out for that final game against the Eagles. But look, this is very Bill Parcells-esque too. And this is very Bill Parcells-esque. He was very, very heavy on not only playing players in the preseason, but winning in the preseason. And Glenn is embodying that a bit as well. Not only playing the starters to get the work in, but also to go out there and win. He wants to do that as well. Puts a lot of stock into that here in the preseason. So Justin Fields and the Jet starters will be out there on Saturday night. So looking forward to that. And of course, get plenty of takeaways from what this offense looks like. And of course, defensively as well. One more thing from Glenn. He spoke on kind of the expectations and what he wants to see from this group and what he's seeing from this group just on building the new identity.
You know what? Every time we go on the grass, the first thing I expect to win. I do. But I expect to win in ways that we really talk about what we're trying to create during camp. I don't want to ever go out in the game and everything that we talk about trying to build as far as how we're trying to get this team to operate, I want to make sure that's showing up like on the tape, if that makes sense. And that's important to me. And listen, I want the score to be in our favor. I do. But more or less anything, I want the things that we're trying to create to show up like every play that we're out there.
Thought that was an interesting quote from Glenn, and definitely something obviously he'll be keeping an eye on during the preseason, but also just in training camp, seeing this team as they continue to build this new identity, embody this new culture under Glenn, what it looks like on the practice field, but also when the lights come on and eventually you actually strap it up for real in a game situation. So that was Aaron Glenn. Moving on now to Sauce Gardner on the topic of the preseason. Here was Sauce on playing in the preseason.
Aaron said just a minute ago that he's going to play on Saturday night and he expects to win. I'm guessing that does not surprise you at all.
No, it did not surprise me at all.
What do you like about that?
I mean, I love football. I'm obsessed with football. So any chance that I got to play, I'm always gonna love the idea of it.
Did you expect that based on how he's been running practices that he would, because a lot of guys now they don't play the starters at all?
I mean, if y'all look, we've been tackling in practice, so I was pretty sure that he was gonna want us to be able to tackle another team, so. I'm embracing that, and I'm looking forward to it. But I definitely was not surprised. None of us were surprised when he said that.
That seems to be a common theme amongst this room, just noticing the difference in physicality in camp and kind of leading to not being surprised that they're playing in the preseason. And I, too, myself, as well, as I kind of mentioned in the open here, talking about Glenn, I'm not surprised the starters are playing. This is kind of what you felt was coming. The type of coach Glenn is, he wants this. And as I said, and many Jet fans, I think, are in agreement, it's a good thing that they're playing because they need the reps, especially a guy like Justin Fields and this offense. So that was Sauce on playing in the preseason. Couple more clips from him. Here was Sauce on the pressure he faces and constantly being under the microscope. Thought this was an interesting answer.
Yeah, most definitely. Right now, I love it. I love how everything that I do is under a microscope because, I was just having a conversation with somebody in a car the other day or yesterday, and I was just like, yeah, bro, I'm just speaking for myself. I set the bar so high for myself, I'm really competing with myself now, and everything that I do is under a microscope, and I love that. I love challenges. I love everything about that. And it kind of took me a little time to have that mentality, but I embrace it now a lot, and I love it.
Thought that was an interesting answer. Embodying the pressure and the being under the spotlight and the constant criticism. I've always said this. I think Sauce's name pops up in a lot more criticism than it really should. I never understood why, but it has. But you listen to him talk and you watch him play. I've always kind of felt that he's always got a little bit overhated in a way. With some of the things you hear people say about him, the way he gets tossed around sometimes in the media, his play itself. A lot of people look at it and critique it. When even in a down year last year, this was still a guy that's a top 5 corner. And I really believe some of that down year was a lot on the coaching staff. And I think you have to have a lot of belief in Sauce and what he can do under this coaching staff, and specifically with Aaron Glenn. I think you've got to have a lot of excitement from that perspective. And I thought that was a pretty cool answer there. An interesting answer, I should say, from Sauce. One more thing on Sauce, his counterpart, Garrett Wilson, the fellow long-term extended wide receiver as well. Of course, the two going up against each other all the time at practice. Here is what he has seen from Garrett Wilson. Very impressed from him this summer.
There's something that happened in his life that that's making him attack the game way in a different way right now. I don't know what it is that happened, but he's trying to work on everything. In the weight room, he's trying to perfect his craft. When he get out there on the field, he's trying to perfect his craft. Literally everything to show people he's worth what he's worth and things like that. You know what I'm saying? I done told on myself a little bit, but yeah, man, he on this stuff, man. And every time I go against him, every time we line up, he's giving me great work. Every single time, he's not taking no play off, man. You know, I appreciate him for being like that. And, you know, he that guy. Like, when it come to, like, the best that I go against, like, that's him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Day in and day out. So, you know, I just know when we get out there, joint practices, when we get out there in the season, he going to do his thing.
Always fun watching those two go up against each other. Very high praise there for Garrett Wilson. One more here. Jay Tufele met the media. Here's his thoughts on what he feels is a loaded defensive line room.
It's a great room, great talent. Like you said, from the vets to the rookies, and we're all in there just helping each other, pushing each other to be great. So it's an amazing room. One of the best I've been, actually the best room I've been in since I've been in the NFL.
Byron Cowart, fellow, free agent signing as well, who's right now dealing with the injury, has been out, but also said similar a couple weeks ago when he met the media. Jay Tufele now today with high praise for that defensive line room. And Jay Tufele is really just a rotational piece here, but he has been a guy that's had a pretty solid summer, has made some plays through these 12 practices so far. So that's day number 12. Another recap in the books. Appreciate you all, as always, for the support. Next up, preseason game number 1, Jets-Packers at Lambeau. Cannot wait. Football is back. The Jets will play a live football game with the starters on the field in just a little over 48 hours from now. So we'll have a ton of content coming up over the next couple days. Tomorrow morning, another player preview. Our Friday edition of the player preview series will drop tomorrow morning, so stay tuned for that. And then I'll also have a Jets-Packers preseason preview tomorrow as well, so stay tuned for that. And then we'll have all your coverage, of course, after the game and anything else. We'll be here talking about it all. Appreciate you all so much. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. What are your takeaways from day number 12 of Jets training camp and any other Jets takes you've got? Let me know down below. Appreciate your support as always. And until next time, JETS, 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 Jets.